There are moments in life when the smartest move isn't to clap back, argue, or prove your point. It's to lock your lips and let silence do the heavy lifting. Silence is not weakness, it's power. It's control. It's the move that flips the script on people who expect you to explode. Every word you don't say becomes a weapon they can't use against you. Every pause you take is a statement louder than shouting. And there are 5 situations where silence isn't just golden, it's your greatest strategy. When anger controls you, silence becomes your sharpest weapon. Think about it. The moment your blood heats up, your jaw tightens, and every part of you wants to fire back with words designed to cut deep, that's when you're most dangerous to yourself. Not to the person in front of you, to yourself. Because once those words leave your mouth, they don't vanish. They hang in the air, they land on the person you aim them at, and they bounce back on you. You can apologize, you can try to patch it up, you can say, "I didn't mean it," but you did. In that moment of fire, you meant every word, and even if you regret it later, the damage is done. That's why silence in the heat of anger is power. It's the fire extinguisher in your hand when everything inside you feels like it's about to burn the whole room down. Most people believe silence means losing the argument. They believe if you don't snap back, you've surrendered. But silence isn't surrender. Silence is strategy. Because the person who controls their tongue controls the room. You ever notice how people who lash out with anger always look weaker when it's over? Their rage exposes them. It shows their lack of control. But the one who holds still, the one who lets the storm pass without throwing fuel on it, that's the person everyone in the room respects, even the person who tried to provoke them. Silence in anger doesn't mean you don't feel it. It doesn't mean you're not human. It means you've trained yourself not to be a puppet of your emotions, and that's rare. Most people let anger write their script. They let fury sign their name at the bottom of the page. But you can refuse. You can stand there, fists clenched inside your pockets, your tongue pressed against your teeth, and you can hold. That holding, that waiting, that pause, that is strength most people will never master. Here's the truth. Anger blinds you, it robs you of clarity, it steals your logic, and it hijacks your words. That's why silence is more than a pause, it's a reset button. When you go silent, you give yourself room to breathe. You give your brain the chance to catch up with your body. Your heart may be sprinting, your chest may be pounding, but your silence gives you space to hear yourself again. And once you hear yourself, you'll notice something powerful. Most of what you wanted to scream doesn't even need to be said. It was just fire looking for wood. Imagine that someone disrespects you in front of others. Your instinct is to snap back, to prove you're not the one to mess with. But if you throw words like knives, now the room only sees 2 people in a fight. Your silence, though, shifts the entire dynamic. Suddenly the disrespect is highlighted. Their rage is exposed. Everyone sees their lack of control, while you stand there untouched. You win not by fighting harder, but by refusing to fight at all. And here's what silence teaches you in those moments. You are not your emotions. You are not your anger. You are the one who decides what exits your mouth. You are the gatekeeper. And if you choose to close the gate when anger pounds on it, you just showed yourself that you're stronger than the storm. Does it feel easy? Absolutely not. It feels like swallowing fire. It feels like every part of you is begging for release. But the longer you practice silence and anger, the more you realize it's not swallowing fire, it's redirecting it. You take that heat, that raw energy, and instead of burning bridges, you use it to build patience, to sharpen your restraint, to fuel your focus. Anger is energy. Silence is how you harness it. And the beautiful thing, silence and anger never backfire. No one wakes up regretting the words they didn't say, but millions regret the ones they did. That's the difference. Silence preserves your reputation. Silence protects your relationships. Silence protects your relationships. Silence saves you from becoming the very thing you hate. So when anger tries to take the wheel, bite down, breathe deep, and stay silent, because silence in anger isn't weakness. It's command. It's discipline. It's the kind of strength people notice, even if they don't say it out loud. And over time it will separate you from everyone else. Because while they burn their lives down with words they can't take back, you'll still be standing. When disrespect hits you, silence is not just a reaction, it's a statement. Because the truth is, disrespect it's someone throwing a hook into the water, hoping you'll bite so they can reel you into their chaos. The louder they get, the sharper their words, the more they're hoping you'll lose control and meet them on their level. That's the trap. And when you stay silent, you don't just avoid the trap, you expose it. You show the whole world that their disrespect says everything about them and nothing about you. Most people believe the instant someone crosses the line, they have to clap back. They have to show their teeth, throw the insult back twice as hard, and let the other person know they're not to be played with. But here's the danger in that. When you respond to disrespect with more noise, you've lowered yourself to their standard. You've handed them power. You've said your words have control over me. Your behavior dictates my response. And whether you realize it or not, you've just confirmed exactly what they wanted, that they can get under your skin. Silence breaks that chain. Silence is the refusal to hand over the remote control of your emotions. When someone disrespects you and you stand there calm, collected, unbothered, you're showing the difference between you and them. You're showing that their noise doesn't shake your foundation. You're showing that you don't need to scream to be strong. Strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just doesn't flinch. Think about this. Disrespect is always loud. It's meant to be seen. It's meant to get a rise out of you. But silence in that moment is deafening. Because silence puts the spotlight right where it belongs. On the person who's acting a fool. They want attention. They want reaction. But when you give them nothing, their own behavior becomes exposed. Everyone in the room sees it. Everyone notices. And instead of you looking weak for not fighting back, they look small for needing to act out in the first place. Now, silence doesn't mean tolerance. It doesn't mean you're okay with disrespect. It doesn't mean you let people walk over you. It means you're wise enough to know when the battlefield isn't worth stepping onto. You don't need to fight every battle. You don't need to correct every liar. You don't need to answer every insult. Sometimes silence is the only language that shows you're above it, and that silence stings far more than any comeback you could have crafted. Here's the truth about people who disrespect others. They thrive off chaos. They want to see you unravel. They want to see that their words have the power to move you, to shake you, to break. But when you don't give them that satisfaction, you take back all the control. You strip them of the victory they were chasing, because nothing disarms a disrespectful person faster than realizing they can't touch you. And let's be real, it takes more courage to stay silent than it does to fire back. Anyone can throw insults. Anyone can yell. But not everyone can stand tall, breathe deep, and stay grounded in the face of disrespect. That takes discipline. That takes self-control. That takes a kind of strength most people don't have. And when you master that, you stop being the easy target. People realize you're not the one they can toy with, not because you'll scream the loudest, but because you won't play their game at all. Silence also buys you time to choose if the disrespect even deserves an answer later. Time to decide if this is someone you need to correct calmly, or someone you simply cut off. Time to make a move that's based on strategy, not emotion. Because disrespect may come fast, but your silence slows everything down. And when you move slowly, you move smart. Disrespect wants you to fight fire with fire, but fire plus fire doesn't equal strength. It equals destruction. Silence is the water. It cools the situation. It keeps you safe. It makes sure you don't burn your own reputation just to prove a point to someone who was never worth your words in the first place. And here's the lasting impact. People remember how you handled disrespect. They remember if you snapped, if you lost it, if you showed cracks in your armor. But they also remember if you stood calm. They remember if you stayed silent. And that memory sticks. Because silence in the face of disrespect is unforgettable. It shows a level of maturity, composure, and confidence that no insult can shake. So when disrespect comes, and it will, don't give it your voice. Give it your silence. Because silence is not weakness. Silence is proof you don't need to fight small battles to prove big strength. Silence is the shield that keeps you from lowering yourself to the level of those who don't deserve your words. And in that silence you win, every single time. When lies spread about you, silence is your sharpest weapon. The instinct when you hear someone twisting your name, inventing stories or painting you as something you're not, is to rush out and defend yourself. You want to grab every person who heard the lie, look them in the eye and set the record straight. You want to prove your innocence, prove your truth, prove that you're not who they say you are. But here's the reality. The more you chase lies, the more power you give them. Every time you defend yourself against something false, you're breathing life into. You're saying this is worth my time, my energy, my focus. And that's exactly what the liar wanted. Lies are cheap. Lies are easy. Lies don't take skill or courage. But when you refuse to answer them, when you stand in silence, you make them collapse under their own weight. Because lies are like shadows. They only exist as long as there's light shining on them. Take away your attention, take away your energy, and they fade. Silence suffocates lies. Most people think silence makes you look guilty. They believe if you don't defend yourself, then surely the lie must be true. but that's short-sighted. The truth has something lies will never have: longevity. Lies sprint fast, but truth runs marathons. Lies get loud, but truth is steady. Over time, truth always outlasts the noise. And your silence proves you trust that. You trust the truth to hold up without your panic, without your constant explanation. When you go silent in the face of lies, you separate yourself from the chaos. Instead of standing in the mud with those who made it, you walk above it. And people know, they notice that while others are shouting, you're calm. They notice that while others are desperate for attention, you're steady. And that steadiness speaks louder than any rebuttal ever could. Silence tells the world, I don't have to defend myself against what isn't true. My character will defend me for me. And here's the part that cuts deep. Those who really know you don't need an explanation. They don't need you to knock on their door and say, hey, that's not me, don't believe it. They already know. They've seen your action. They've seen your consistency. They've seen your integrity. And your silence becomes a confirmation of that. You're saying, I don't need to prove who I am, because my life already proves it. Now think about the liar, the one who spreads the rumors, the one who wants to see you shake. They thrive off your reaction. They feed on your energy. If you get loud, they win. If you get desperate, they win. But if you stay silent, if you let them scream into the air with no echo coming back, their lie starts to die. Because lies can't survive without attention. And nothing starves them faster than silence. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means wisdom. It means patience. It means you've learned not every attack deserves a counter. Not every accusation deserves a defense. Some things deserve nothing at all. And that nothing, that silence, is what shows real strength. It says I am untouchable by lies, because I know the truth doesn't need my panic to survive. There's also this: defending yourself against lies often backfire. You think you're clearing your name, but sometimes you're just spreading the lie further. People who never heard it now know it, because you gave it breath. That's why silence is smarter. Let the lie die small instead of making it grow large. And the beauty is, silence gives you time for people to see the truth with their own eyes. Time for your consistency to outshine the rumor. Time for the liar to trip over their own story. Because lies are unstable. They fall apart with time. And your silence lets that happen naturally, without you lifting a finger. So when lies spread about you, stay calm, stay grounded, stay silent. Because silence is not surrender, it's strategy. It's you saying, I don't chase shadows. I don't answer to nonsense. I don't waste my breath on what was never true. Your silence proves your trust in yourself, in your character, and in the truth. And in the end, that silence will speak louder than any defense ever could. When ignorance speaks, silence is the smartest response you'll ever give. Because ignorance is loud by nature. It talks without thinking, shouts without knowledge, and argues without facts. Ignorance doesn't care about truth. It cares about being heard. And if you step into that arena, if you start wrestling with it, you lose before you've even begun. Not because you're wrong, but because ignorance doesn't play fair. It doesn't want understanding. It doesn't want growth. It wants noise. And silence is the one thing that cuts its oxygen supply. Think about the times you've seen someone spitting out half-baked opinions, repeating something they never researched, or throwing insults just to sound important. Your first instinct is to correct them, to show them the facts, to drag them into reality. But here's the problem. Ignorance doesn't care about reality. It's not looking for truth. It's looking for reaction. The moment you engage, you've given it exactly what it wanted: your time, your attention, your energy. And once you're tangled in its grip, you can argue for hours and still end up nowhere. Silence, though, shows that you've seen the game and refuse to play. It tells ignorance, you don't deserve my breath. Because when you meet ignorance with silence, you maintain your dignity. You show you know the difference between a battle worth fighting and one that wastes your spirit. And trust me, there is no trophy in winning an argument with someone who doesn't care about truth in the first place. Silence is also a mirror. When you don't respond, ignorance hears its own echo. It's left to sit with its own noise, its own contradictions, its own emptiness. And the beauty is, others see it too. They watch the ignorant person talk, ramble, argue, and then they see you still calm, composed. That contrast is everything. It makes their ignorance louder, and your wisdom sharper, without you saying a word. But silence doesn't mean fear. It doesn't mean you're too weak to respond. It means you're strong enough to know your words have value, and you won't waste them where they won't be heard. Your silence is you protecting your peace, guarding your energy, and keeping your focus. Because once you learn how valuable your voice really is, you stop giving it away to people who aren't ready to listen. Here's the truth. Ignorance wants to pull you down. It wants you emotional, defensive, off balance. It wants to see you fight dirty,
because that's the only level it knows. And when you refuse, when you stay silent, you win. You stay on your ground, and you let ignorance collapse under its own weight. Silence also gives you perspective. In the heat of the moment, you might want to prove them wrong, to correct every mistake they're making. But silence slows you down. It lets you decide, is this really worth it? Is this the kind of conversation that could change something? Or is this just someone talking for the sake of being heard? 9 times out of 10, you'll realize your silence was the better answer. And here's something most people miss. Silence is not the absence of power, it's the presence of control. It takes more strength to hold your tongue than it does to unleash it. Anybody can argue, anybody can snap, but not everyone can bite down, breathe and let ignorance keep talking while you hold your peace. That restraint, that discipline, that's where your strength shines. The people who matter will notice. They'll see your silence and recognize it for what it is. They'll understand you didn't stay quiet because you had nothing to say, but because you had too much to waste on the wrong person. And over time, that respect will outlast every ignorant word ever thrown your way. Ignorance thrives on attention. Don't feed it, don't water it, don't give it the satisfaction of pulling you in. Let it talk, let it spin its wheels, let it reveal itself for what it is. Because the more you stay silent, the clearer it becomes to everyone watching who holds the real strength. So when ignorance speaks, let silence answer, not because you can't win the argument, but because you've already won by not entering it. Silence doesn't just protect your peace, it proves your power, and in a world full of noise, that silence will echo louder than any argument ever could. When the timing isn't right, silence becomes the smartest move you'll ever make, because words are like arrows. Once they leave, you can't pull them back. You can apologize, you can explain, you can say you didn't mean it, but the damage is already done. And more often than not, it's not the words themselves that cause the destruction, it's the timing. You spoke too soon, too late, too fast, too hot, and once it's out, it's out. That's why silence, in the wrong moment, is protection. It saves you from turning a temporary feeling into a permanent wound. Think about how many relationships have cracked, not because the truth was wrong, but because it was delivered at the wrong time. How many opportunities have been lost because someone spoke before listening? How many arguments exploded because silence wasn't chosen first? Timing has the power to turn wisdom into foolishness, if you don't respect it. And silence is the way you buy time. It's the pause button that allows you to measure, not just what to say, but when to say. When emotions run high, timing is almost always wrong. That's why silence is priceless in the heat of the moment. When your heart is pounding, your face is burning, and every part of you wants to unload what's sitting on your tongue, that's when silence saves you. Because in that state, your words aren't thoughtful, they're weapons, and weapons in the wrong hands always cause collateral damage. Silence lets you cool down. It lets your words go from reckless to intentional. And intentional words, spoken at the right time, land with weight that reckless words never can. Silence also gives you perspective. It allows you to step back, to ask yourself, is this the right moment? Is this the right place? Will my words build here or will they break? Because sometimes the truth spoken at the wrong time feels like an attack, not a gift. Sometimes advice given too early feels like judgment. Sometimes honesty offered without space feels like pressure. Timing shapes how every word is received, and silence is how you wait until the soil is ready. There's power in holding back, power in knowing you don't have to say everything you feel the second you feel it. That's emotional discipline. That's maturity. That's the kind of strength that separates people who react from people who lead. Because leaders don't just know what to say, they know when to say it. In silence is the bridge between impulse and wisdom. But here's the thing, silence, when timing isn't right, doesn't mean burying your truth forever. It doesn't mean swallowing what matters to you. It means respecting the moment. It means waiting until your words can heal instead of hurt. It means understanding that the best truth spoken at the wrong time becomes noise, and noise never changes hearts. Timing does. Silence also protects opportunity. Sometimes the right deal, the right connection, the right relationship is lost because someone couldn't wait. They rushed the words, they forced the moment, they pushed instead of pausing, and that rush cost them everything. But silence teaches patience. It teaches you to let things unfold, to wait until the door is open before you step through, and when you do, your words carry authority instead of desperation. The truth is, silence in wrong timing is often misunderstood. People might think you're holding back because you're afraid, but it's the opposite. It's courage. It takes courage to sit in the tension of silence, to hold your ground when everything inside you screams to speak. It takes courage to wait for clarity, to trust that the right moment will come. But when it does, your words will hit deeper because they were born out of patience, not impulse. And the impact, unmatched. Words spoken at the right time can change a life. They can mend a heart, shift a perspective, save a relationship, seal an opportunity. The only difference between words that heal and words that harm is timing. In silence is how you guard that timing until it's right. So when the timing isn't right, bite your tongue, hold your breath, let the silence cover you, because silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the recognition that your words are too powerful to waste in the wrong moment. And when you finally choose to speak, after waiting, after observing, after holding back, you'll notice something incredible. People lean in, people listen, because words spoken after silence carry a weight no rushed reaction ever could. Silence is not emptiness, it is not weakness, it is the choice to hold your power when the world is daring you to throw it away. In anger, silence keeps you from burning bridges you'll need tomorrow. In disrespect, silence proves you can't be pulled down into someone else's chaos. In lies, silence shows you trust the truth to stand taller than rumors ever could. In ignorance, silence reveals you know the difference between wasting your voice and protecting your peace. And when timing isn't right, silence protects your words until they can land with the weight they deserve. Every time you choose silence in these moments, you're not backing down, you're leveling up. You're showing discipline most people will never master. You're showing that strength isn't in how loud you can be, but in how calm you can stay. Silence is your shield. Silence is your strategy. Silence is your strength. And if you can learn to wield it, not as avoidance, but as control, you will walk into rooms with a presence no one can ignore. Because sometimes the loudest voice is the one that never needed to speak at all.